Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning and present this webinar for military families and retirees who are entering into the Autism Care Demonstration. My name is Christy Cabiau. I'm the CEO and founder of Mission Alpha Advocacy, which is a nonprofit that focuses on military healthcare. And the target audience for our presentation today is going to be those new families that are just receiving the autism diagnosis and entering into the Autism Care Demonstration Program.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsay Gandy. I am the Director of Special Events and Media Relations for Mission Alpha. I am an active duty spouse with a kiddo that is diagnosed with autism.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shayna Purser. I am the Director of Outreach at Mission Alpha Advocacy. My daughter is on the spectrum and receives ABA services through CHAMP VA.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with these slides that we have. So TRICARE resources for families with autism. That is a little slide about us. And so who is Mission Alpha? We are a military-focused nonprofit. We're a 501c4, so we can solely focus on advocating and lobbying. Our focus is on supporting military families with disabilities and special needs. In our advocacy group, we are all volunteers. We come from different backgrounds. We live all over the country. And we are a very diverse group. So next slide, please. Acronyms to know. A lot of these we will be going over throughout the presentation, so I'm not going to get into them just yet. So what is Applied Behavior Analysis, ABA? So ABA is a science-based therapy. Just like speech therapy, physical therapy, you receive goals, plans on how to achieve those goals. It's very individualized, depending on the person, and it can take place in the home, school, and community setting. And so moving on from that, what is TRICARE? So TRICARE is a healthcare benefit for active duty personnel, retirees, Reserve, National Guard, and their family members. We have our sponsor, who is a service member or retiree. Then you have your spouse and the children who are registered in DEERS. And there are many different plans, as you can see. There's Prime, Select, TRICARE for Life, Young Adults, and there's also Reserve. So just depending where you're at in your military career, depends on what TRICARE plan you receive. TRICARE regions. So depending on where you live, you are either going to be on the west or the east. So there's TRICARE West, TRICARE East. And for this specific webinar, we're just discussing the 50 states. Overseas has a little bit of a different program, but specific to this webinar, we are just going to discuss the 50 states. So Autism Care Demonstration, the ACD. So as you can see, it began in July of 2014. It is set to end at the end of next year, December 2023. The Autism Care Demonstration Act is a pilot program. And the DoD is stating that there isn't evidence supporting ABA as a basic medical benefit. That's why they started the Autism Care Demonstration to do their own research to study the effectiveness. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Medical Association stand behind ABA services. Those are just two of the organizations. There are others that stand behind ABA. Outside of TRICARE, all 50 states mandate coverage to receive ABA services if you are fully insured. So with that, I am going to kick it over to Christy to explain further.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. So the part that I'm focusing on is really the part that speaks to families who are new to autism and new to entering into the autism care demonstration. So the first step is, you have a child that you feel may have signs of autism. Maybe their language is delayed. Maybe they don't make eye contact, but you have enough of a concern. Who do you go to next with those concerns? The first person is going to be your primary care provider, that person who typically sees your child. Since March of 2021, the new policies say that family medicine doctors, pediatricians, and internal medicine doctors can make the diagnosis of autism. I will say, as a family medicine doctor myself, that is not likely to happen. That it really takes a lot of time and care to make a correct diagnosis of autism. And so most of the time, those physicians will refer you and your child to a specialist. So the specialist who can make the diagnosis would be developmental pediatricians, neurodevelopmental pediatricians, pediatric neurologists, psychiatrists. Those are physicians who specialize in mental health care, and psychologists who have a PhD. They're a doctorate level psychologist. Those people can do these specialized assessments to diagnose autism. It takes a full evaluation. It is not something that, you can just say as a physician, oh, I think your child has autism. They have to do very specific assessments for TRICARE to approve the diagnosis of autism and approve ABA. So once you receive the diagnosis of autism, then you'll have a discussion of, well, what treatment options would be best for my child. For many of us, the recommendation is applied behavior analysis, or ABA. And a referral needs to be placed by the person who is diagnosing your child's autism, or your typical primary care provider. They could also place the referral. Before March of 2021, it actually was pretty simple. Your provider just put in a referral for ABA. Now there are extra forms that need to be done. And those forms are different depending on if you are TRICARE East or TRICARE West. If you need to find those forms for the provider, which you will, I would be prepared to do that, because physicians don't even know that most of the time that they need to fill out these extra checklists. One of the forms is called a DSM-5 checklist, and it's just what it sounds. DSM-5 is that diagnostic criteria that we as physicians use to say, yes, a person does have autism. They're on the autism spectrum. TRICARE East, that's the form. They check it off. They sign it. They will also need to put that your child has a severity level of 1, meaning they need minimal support, all the way to 3, needing maximal support in their daily life. The physician will send in that form with the diagnostic assessment that they use to determine autism. TRICARE West has the DSM-5 checklist as well, but they have an extra form called an attestation form, which is just what it sounds, saying, I signed this form, again, saying the child has autism. On the website that we developed with the Autism Legal Resource Center, we have these websites listed because they're not easy to find. When I started looking for these forms myself, I searched for quite a while before I realized that it's actually under the provider section. So family members would have to know to go to the provider section on the TRICARE website, go down to forms, and then you'll find them. And so what we've done is we've just taken out that extra step, hopefully to help the families find the forms so they can take it themselves to the provider. The provider can sign the forms, send it in to get the referral in place for ABA. Now, if you are an active service member, there's an extra step that you need to do. You have the diagnosis of autism. Now you need to register for the Exceptional Family Member Program, EFMP. It typically is a voluntary program. However, if you need ABA services, you need to be in this program to qualify for the autism care demonstration. The EF&P forms, we have another link on the website that will take you to Military OneSource that has that special form that once again needs to be completed by your primary care physician, stating the child has a diagnosis of autism. You qualify for this exceptional family member program. What this program does is it provides extra resources and also flags your family for the military, saying, when we move this service member, we need to do the extra steps to ensure that the medical care and mental health care are available for this child or spouse or whoever has the extra need in the family. So it really is designed to be that level of protection for the family unit for when they have a permanent change of station to a new location, that the EF&P office will say, yes, we have the services here that the family needs. We'll accept the family to this new military installation. You have 90 days to enroll into EF&P from the time of diagnosis. The other part of that is the ECHO program, the Extended Care Health Option. That is mandatory to receive ABA. That form is the easiest way would be to call TRICARE and be transferred to the ECHO office, and they will share the form with you. Military OneSource, we have that link. We'll also share that to help you get to that form. That, the easiest way to think about the ECHO program is it's a TRICARE supplemental program. It covers extra services that TRICARE doesn't cover as a basic benefit. ABA falls into that. The special thing with ABA and ECHO is that there is no financial cap for ABA. When you read about ECHO, you're going to see that it covers up to $36,000 a year. That's for everything else but ABA. ABA has no limit. The most common reason that people use ECHO is diapers. That's what you're going to hear the most. If they have a child who has outgrown the typical size of diaper, but still needs that extra support at night or during the day, they receive those through ECHO, which is supplemental. The other part that you will hear about ECHO that I want to make sure that we clarify, it's only for active service members. So if you're a retiree, you do not need to be in EF&P or ECHO. We're talking about service members right now. The other special groups that may qualify for ECHO would be National Guard and Reserve members that are on active duty for more than 30 days, family members eligible under the Transitional Assistance Management Program, family members of former service members who were victims of physical or emotional abuse, or family members of deceased active duty sponsor. Those are the special groups that qualify in addition to active service members. If you fall outside of that, if you're a retiree, don't even worry about EF&P and ECHO. Just ignore this part of the presentation. Okay. All right, so you have the ABA referral, you've done the forms, you've enrolled in EF&P and ECHO. I don't have this on the slide, but I do want to bring it up, is the Autism Service Navigator. The Autism Service Navigator is the easiest way to think of that person. It is a person who's provided through TRICARE as a case manager. That person is available for any families entering into the autism care demonstration after October 1st. You'll be called and assigned to an Autism Service Navigator or an ASN. It's not optional, guys. You have to say yes to this resource. And this person is supposed to help you find community resources, help you navigate whenever you have change of stations. This is a new position. So we're learning how this person would work and fit in with the ABA provider and the other members of the team, but that you'll get a call. You will need to say yes to being assigned an ASN. Okay, so we have the referral, we have the forms in, we're in EFMP and ECHO if you're a service member. Everybody gets the call about the Autism Service Navigator. If you're new after October 1st, you say yes, and then you get the authorization for ABA. This is when you start looking for your ABA provider. TRICARE will, whenever they give you the authorization, have listed an ABA provider for your area. Don't depend on that. The provider network is out of date the majority of the time. You yourself will need to do the footwork. You'll need to go on Google and search ABA providers. You'll need to go to the local parent Facebook groups and ask other parents who they like to use. That's how you're going to find them. Whenever you find an ABA provider that you are interested in, the question I always ask is, how many clients are assigned to the board certified behavior analyst? That is the person who oversees the treatment plan and oversees the team giving ABA to your child. Some companies will have as many as 25 clients per BCBA. That is way too many. They do not have the time needed to give individual attention to your child. The ideal would be 8 to 10, maybe even a little more, depending on if the BCBA is full-time. You have the BCBA, and then you have under them, as part of the treatment team, behavior technicians. And the BCBA is the one who oversees them. So it's really important that they don't have too many clients on their panel that they have to oversee. Okay, you meet with the ABA provider for the initial evaluation. At that evaluation, they need to find out what's important to you, what's important to the child, what skills and deficits do we need to work on in order to help the child navigate their different settings and improve their daily life. So you'll have the evaluation, and then there are other assessments that need to be completed. These are called outcome measures. One that your ABA provider will give to you is called the Pervasive Developmental Disorder Behavior Inventory. It's the PDDBI. It's a set of questions. You take it over the computer. It asks just basic developmental questions. You'll do that every 6 months as long as your child is receiving ABA through the Autism Care Demonstration. That must be done. The Vineland Adaptive Behavior Scale, it's another computer questionnaire that has to be done. The Social Responsiveness Scale, another questionnaire that has to be done. That's over the computer as well. Your ABA provider could do all of those if they choose. They definitely will usually do the PDDBI. The new assessment that has come up since March of 2021 is the Parent Stress Assessment. That needs to be done every 6 months. That's also a computer questionnaire. That assessment looks at me, the parent, my stress level, and the Defense Health Agency that makes these policies that we all follow to receive ABA say that they need to have it as part of the ACD. So the difficulty with this assessment is many ABA providers feel that it is outside of their typical scope of practice because it's considered a psychological assessment. What happens in TRICARE East is many times you'll need to go back to your primary care provider. The primary care provider will give another referral to see a mental health specialist who will do the parent stress assessment. So it is another step that has to happen. Please be aware of it because it can delay starting ABA because you cannot start the ABA treatments until you have the parent stress assessment done. If you are TRICARE West, they have subcontracted an ABA company that will send you that parent stress assessment through the computer. And you could have it done that way if you're in TRICARE West. So again, there's a difference in the TRICARE regions and how you have it done. But it doesn't change the fact that you have to have all of these assessments done to start ABA. So you get these assessments done. Finally, you get the approval for the treatment plan to start ABA. It now looks a little bit different than what it did before March of 2021. You can have ABA in the clinic given to your child by the board certified behavior analyst or the board certified assistant behavior analyst, which is like a bachelor's level degree, or the registered behavior technician. All of those team members can work with your child in the clinic and the home. The changes are in the school and the community setting. In the school setting, you can only have that board certified behavior analyst working in the school. Very restricted, absolutely no educational goals. And it has to be pre-approved, and it has to be a very limited basis and a limited scope. Again, this is why it's important to have a BCBA that doesn't have 25 clients, because they need to have time to be able to support your child in all the settings that are needed. In the community setting, which would be like the grocery store, post office, the park, only the board certified behavior analyst can deliver ABA in those settings. You cannot have a registered behavior technician, and it also has to be pre-approved to get help in those settings for your child. All right, so the final thing is, now that your child has this diagnosis of autism and you're part of the autism care demonstration, this is when advocacy truly starts to come into play. You're not only advocating for quality healthcare for your child, you're advocating for special education through the individual education plan. You're advocating for inclusion and extracurricular activities in all aspects of your life. You are going to become an advocate yourself, and your child's going to become a self-advocate as they get older. There are organizations out there that will help assist military families with this. We're one at Mission Alpha Advocacy. We really focus on advocacy with policy and with the DoD. We spend a lot of time speaking with legislators up on Capitol Hill, working specifically right now for the Autism Care Demonstration to remove these extra barriers that were in place, like the parent stress assessment, so families can start ABA easier. They don't have to go through all these steps. We're hoping to improve that with collaboration with the DoD and legislators. Another organization is Military One Source. That's actually a DoD funded organization. They have a lot of resources on their website for families in special education and with exceptional needs. Military One Source has the EFMP and Me app that you can download on your phone. It gives you access to all of the extra forms. It also, they have special needs counselors that are available. So highly recommend checking out that resource. The special education resources, Partners in Promise, that's a nonprofit. It's military family led. They focus on that exceptional family community and their IEP needs. Military Child Education Coalition, and then our final two just give that general family support, like the National Military Family Association and Blue Star Family. We did just a very quick, simple run through of what families need to do to enter into the Autism Care Demonstration. But we'd like to open this up for any other questions, any need to clarify anything that we've presented for the webinar this morning, or any corrections. You know, we're always open to feedback. So Shayna, because I'm on my phone, I'm not able to see if anyone is typing in comments or any questions. I know that there were a few on who qualified for ECHO.
Correct. We do not have any new questions in the chat. I know that it is a lot of information to swallow, and there are so many nuances to it, and I'm sure that's going to take time to process. And it looks like we do have a new question. As a retiree, we do not need ECHO or EFMP?
No, this is only for active service members, also for those small groups of people who do qualify, like the families of deceased active duty sponsors while they transition to survivor status, and also the National Guard and Reserves who are on active duty orders. So it is not for retirees, only for active service members.
Thank you. All right, next question. Can we get a PowerPoint or a copy of the recording to share with our parents that we are trying to get services? We are more than happy to share slides. We're also going to have an infographic that we're going to be sharing on our social media feeds. And these are going to be, you know, more detailed with specifics on how to navigate this process. And they will be very shareable. And we highly recommend sharing these with your clients as well. We also have another question.
Sorry, Shana, on that infographic, I do want to point out, we're going to include the links for those referral forms because I had to really search for that. It's not where families would ever think to look. It's actually under the provider section on TRICARE East and TRICARE West, which families would never look for that. But yet we have to find the forms to share with the diagnosing physician. So we're going to include the links that will get you to the webpage that has the form, because that's going to cause a major delay in people starting ABA.
Yes. And just, you know, personal for the parents, you know, in the room, a personal technique that I have used, especially when navigating these difficult processes with lots of documents, you know, lots of things that you need to have together. And some providers may not know all of these new, you know, these new restrictions and or, you know, additions to the ACD. I utilize a Google Drive or some kind of cloud-based file folder that I can share, you know, these files, or at least the CHAMP VA versions of these files with my providers to help them navigate this process as well. And so that's just one of those workaround tactics. You get really creative. Necessity is the mother of invention.
So Shanna, I didn't even mention, but if you're a family, you need to print every single thing. I always ask for a copy of the diagnostic report because TRICARE just asked me to provide it again because they didn't have it on file for Logan. We were diagnosed 4 years ago. He's beginning ABA. You should have it on file, but they didn't. Yeah. And because I had that paper copy and we've had a permanent change of station, medical records hardly ever follow you like they should. So print everything and keep a copy of everything. Absolutely. I even have copies of our last speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy appointments before we move. I have copies of the last ABA treatment plan before we move that I share with our future ABA provider. The diagnostic report. It's just, you can't rely on TRICARE to keep it on file because families, especially this year since March, have been contacted saying, we don't have a diagnostic report on file for you. We don't know how you've continued receiving ABA services. So we've got to be very proactive as families to advocate in that way.
Absolutely.
Also, if you're going from TRICARE West to East, East to West, please make sure you have all of your things as well. So just keep that in mind when you're going from East to West.
Yes, good point. Thank you. We do have another question in the chat coming from a provider. A lot of families are upset about the parent stress assessment, the questions that are asked. Do you have any suggestions for parents for where parents can direct their concerns about the assessment?
Yeah, so that's something that we've really been bringing up with legislators and with the DOD as far as, you know, those stress assessments, no one else within the military healthcare system has to have their stress level assessed in order to receive a medical therapy. Only parents who are receiving ABA or seeking ABA services. So the place that they need to direct those frustrations or concerns would be with their legislators. It's going to take Congress saying that will not mandate parents to have their stress levels assessed before their child can receive medical therapy. So we are bringing it up with legislators. I wrote an op-ed for Military Times about these parent stress assessments a couple of weeks ago. I have had legislators reach out to me asking for follow-up about that because they just weren't aware that that was happening for military families. You could share that op-ed. You could print out that op-ed or send it through email. The easiest way to reach out is if you are a constituent, you can just call the office and ask for an email address and say, you know, is there an email address for a staff member who focuses on military family health care or military related concerns? They'll share the email address 9 times out of 10, and you just send an email. Be very brief, be very professional, and say, state your name. You can choose to say, I'm active service, 21 years in the Air Force. We're stationed here at this location. Our child is part of the autism care demonstration. We have concerns that we have to have our stress level assessed. And maybe that's something that we at Mission Alpha Advocacy could work on as a template for families to use whenever they email legislators. So we'll make note of that and see how we can help families also reach out.
And if I may add on to that, this is where I would like to highly encourage, any families, any providers, anybody else who, finds this to be difficult and or would like to be a part of the change. If you have the bandwidth, please don't hesitate to join us, because we are an all volunteer team, and it truly does take a village to be able to address the necessary changes and also make this an easier program to navigate for our military families. So I would also like to highly encourage you to visit our website and take a look at the opportunities to join.
I think this may be a good time to bring up that we're working on we've released a survey. We have 2 surveys that we've released in collaboration with 2 other ABA companies. The first survey is just for parents. It's anonymous. And we completed the survey. We started the survey at the request of legislators. We had a couple of senators who said, we want to advocate on your behalf. We want to help you. We need data. We need to know from the families themselves how these changes are affecting them and how this affects military readiness. So on this survey, it's anonymous. Shana, Lindsay, and I worked on creating it. We have no idea who's sending them in the sense that we don't track email addresses. So families can truly be honest on it. But it asks those questions such as, is this affecting your future military career? Are you going to retire early? My family is. We're going to get out at 21 years, and we had plans to continue on. We didn't plan to get out this early, but we have to. We need better coverage for ABA. So that's a really easy way for families to help us in the advocacy effort, is we need that data. The second way is for ABA providers. We have a separate survey that we've released for them. And that asks questions such as, are you going to continue taking TRICARE? Do you have plans to stop TRICARE after your clients leave? And we have gotten an overwhelming response from ABA providers. We have such good data to share with legislators. That survey is still ongoing. We have a few more weeks before we close them out so that we can share it with legislators, because right now we're working on creating legislation. And the analysis that we had in legislation last year, in the National Defense Authorization Act, we had a piece of legislation for the autism care demonstration specifically. And what it said was there would be an outside analysis, an outside look at the ACD and how the Defense Health Agency is determining effectiveness of ABA. And they're looking at all of these assessments that I listed, the parent stress assessments, the PDDBI, SRS, the Vineland. They're supposed to look at that. That analysis was supposed to have begun this month, hopefully, but the DoD, the Department of Defense, has not entered into the contract with that outside third party to begin the analysis. So that's what we're spending a lot of our time advocating for, is to have legislators ask the Defense Health Agency and the DoD, why haven't we started the analysis? We need to get that started so that we also have that data. The autism care demonstration ends December 2023. Time is of the essence. And the analysis, those results will help direct the future of ABA. So it's really, really important to everybody involved in this.
Christy, if I can jump in quickly, I think this is also a good time to plug the summit, and that y'all will be doing a TRICARE track. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit as a way to actually meet each other in person and talk about these issues and game plan. So
yeah, Yeah, so the Autism Law Summit happens each October. It's in different locations around the country. Last year it was in South Carolina. This year the location's still to be determined, but hopefully we'll be able to release that and share that as soon as we know more information on it. But the Law Summit is amazing. It's a group of parents, of lawyers, of nonprofits, ABA providers who come together and just advocate on autism law. And the people who are at this summit, they're the ones who have really been the pushers of for the past 20 years. You know, they're the reasons, they're the parents who have gone to each state legislator and advocated on behalf of our kids. So this year, we will be having a TRICARE track specifically. And we'll be working with ABA providers to make sure that we have information that's relevant to that group as well as parents. We will be discussing, it'll be summit style, we'll be sitting in a room together where we are discussing of what can we do next to help advocate? What are the next steps? What other resources can we pull in to make sure that ABA is a basic benefit at the end of the demonstration? Because there are some really worrisome changes that have come about that are restricting the science, and it's not as effective as what it could be if we didn't have those restrictions for the school and community setting. So that's going to be great. Great way to meet all of us in person, and we can meet you and we can really have that back and forth discussion.
All right, it looks like we don't have any remaining questions in the chat.
Okay. That sounds good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we want to share for the advocacy efforts. Maybe the last thing that I will share, and this is not directly related to the Autism Care demonstration, but it's something else that we are working on at Mission Alpha, is the referral process. Because as it stands now, we know there's very long wait lists for ABA in particular. It can be up to 6 months waiting for ABA. And families cannot receive a referral before they move to their new location. So even whenever we were stationed down at MacDill Air Force Base, if we moved across the state of Florida, we could not get a referral to, get on a wait list for a new ABA company. We're working with legislators to try to streamline that process so that families can get that in place before they move and get on those wait lists for specialty care, such as ABA, speech, cardiology, because it's really across the board delaying care. So that's a big project that we're working on, and hopefully we'll have some legislation to share on that in the next month or two. The second big project that we are working on is mental health parity laws. So with TRICARE, they are not mandated to follow the Mental Health Parity Addiction Equity Act. That is a federal law that provides protections for mental health services such as ABA. TRICARE doesn't have to follow that. That's why we have a demonstration. That's why we don't have ABA as a basic benefit. That's why we have these parent stress assessments that have to be done every 6 months. If we had protection by MAPIA, we wouldn't have those things. ABA is a protected mental health service. So one thing that we're starting to work on with legislators is just to have a study done for the TRICARE health benefits, the mental health services, on are they complying with the mental health parity laws and ensuring that those protections are in place for service members and retirees receiving TRICARE. That would just be another layer of protection for ABA services. So I think that's that covers it, ladies, for what we're busy with this year at Mission Alpha.
I think there was another question in the chat, Shana.
Yes, thank you. Do you know if some ABA providers currently allow families to get on wait lists prior to the families having PCS'd into the area?
I think some ABA providers allow that. I think that's very dependent on location. I'm trying to remember for us if I had that experience. I think whenever we moved from MacDill up to North Carolina, we were able to get on the wait list for ABA providers. We weren't for speech therapy, OT, or PT, but we were able to for ABA. When we were at MacDill, though, we were not at the time. That was almost 4 years ago. So that may have changed. So it's very dependent on location. I always call, I spend, a couple of weeks calling every ABA provider. I think I called 21 companies down at MacDill before I could find one that had a spot for our son before 9 to 12 months.
And if I may, from the parent side, once again, do not take no for an answer. Do not feel bad to advocate for your family or your child. We run into a fair number of challenges and barriers, but please don't feel bad to advocate for your child and your needs as well.
The other thing for families, and we can help with this too, if a family would like to reach out to their legislator and even have a meeting with a staff member, we'd be happy to help with that. Because sometimes with these meetings, it can be difficult to know how to present the information because many of these staff members have never even heard of ABA. They're not familiar with it. They don't know what it means or what's involved in it. And so we can attend to be another resource for the family. The family can share their personal story of how these changes have affected them. And then we can really fill those gaps and update that staff member on the other legislators who are working on this, both in the House and the Senate, and be that resource to back up the family in the meeting. And also help if the meeting goes a little bit sideways to help kind of bring it back to the main focus of ABA.
Also, really quickly, I saw someone had mentioned that they were told that they didn't need to be on EFMP. If you guys have any questions about navigating, you're getting conflicting information, whatever the situation is, please reach out to us. We would be more than happy to help you navigate this. So just reach out to us via email, the website, Facebook, whatever's convenient for you, and we can help you.
And I think that one, though, probably comes from EFMP is not mandatory unless you're getting ABA and entered into the Autism Care Demonstration. Because if you look at TRICARE's website under the Autism Care Demonstration, it says it is mandatory. If I've spoken with Bienia and CERTA, it's mandatory, guys, to get ABA because you have to be in ECHO. You have to be in ECHO. So if you're receiving speech therapy or occupational therapy and that's all you're receiving, it is optional. EFMP is optional.